So my name is Shiko Kihika, also known as Shiko Kihika, a resident of Nakuru County. Basically raised here since I've known my entire life here. So yeah, this is home. I run an initiative or an organization called Tribeless Youth. Tribeless Youth was established back in 2016 and registered in 2017. Why Tribeless Youth is because for the longest time, if you think Nakuru and think election or Rift Valley and elections, the first thing they used to tell us is your name betrays you. That is one. Second is that there's got to be violence. And there was no room for young people to have conversations or issue-based conversations around elections and the candidates they wanted to choose, because then it would be reduced to what tribe they come from. And that's voting back into our tribal cocoons so that we enable, or rather we enable a conducive environment where people will not fight. So Tribeless Youth came by because we wanted to create a space for young people to drive issues, to have conversations, and also to advocate for issues that really affect them and directly feed into the policies and manifestos of the political class.
So what inspired you to start Tribeless Youth?
I think I've touched on it, but my entire life I've lived here in Nakuru County, and we know it's always marked the hotspot. I know we are about to go into another election year, and NCIC is about to release a report with Nakuru marked as one of the hotspots for political violence. Yes, we've witnessed political violence, but for us, it did not mean that this history needed to block us from having dialogues, conversations, and reconciliation moments. So Tribeless Youth became a platform, or was to be a platform, or is a platform because it's still here, where young people meet, have conversations, create together, but also build together. So we discuss politics, we discuss governance issues, we discuss what our future looks like. And we try to march towards having people vote for the right leaders, because whoever you vote in today determines your economic situation for the next 5 years. Whoever you vote in today determines if your child goes to school or not. Whoever you vote in today determines if you get help or not. So it is, the Tribeless Youth was an anchor, or is an anchor, where citizens, and especially young creatives, young activists, and young citizens can sit together and determine how their future looks like politically.
Shiko, how did your upbringing or early experiences influence your passion for peace building and social justice?
It's quite interesting because I witnessed my first well-seen violence in 2008, where I saw friends I've grown up with leave for camps and never came back, where our house where we lived became a storage for people's stuff so that they're not burned down. But we could not see these people anymore. They left. Some of them never came back, even for their stuff. I saw men drive people home in anger, and I saw tribe being used against people, in short. And for a moment, I hated belonging. I hated being identified as a person from tribe X. And as I grew up knowing that if you live in Nakuru, then every election you have to run away. Because what they showed us is that there was no pride in belonging. There was no pride in voting, because then that resulted to violence. I saw Nakuru being divided into two. There's Central and Nyanza, and there were the code languages that you would use to cross over to the other side. And for me, this changed my perspective of so many things. I had grown up in Nakuru, and all of us always take pride in Nakuru is a cosmopolitan area. We say we have all tribes here until it's electioneering period, and now we have to divide them, and who are the majority and who are the minority. So for me, seeing this, growing up, I lost so many friends. The games we used to play then are no longer here, but also those friends are gone. Some were killed, some left to we don't know where, and some to date have never gone back home because they still live in camps. So for me, that kind of built me or put me in a space where I asked myself, is this what we have to reduce our lives every 5 years? Is it worth dying for? Is it worth losing people? Like your direct door neighbor when you know Bachumvi, why would you start seeing them different because a certain aspirant is vying and they don't believe this tribe is worth belonging here? So that is what drove me to a question of, what if we had conversations? What if we saw elections beyond tribes? What if we saw politics beyond where you come from or who you identify as? Yeah, that's what drove me there.
What does the name Tribeless mean to you personally, and why did you choose it?
I have two analogies. I'll start with one that is lighter, and I always say my kids don't come from one singular tribe, and they might end up marrying from other tribes. So my grandkids might never have an identity or a tribe to belong to. So tribeless for me meant coexisting beyond which tribe or construct you come from. But then Tribeless Youth has grown, or Tribeless has grown to mean something huge and different for me. And it has become an identity for young Kenyans. It has become an identity for justice, an identity for solidarity, an identity for people showing up for the others, Ubuntu. We have seen the last 2 years change the whole perspective of what Tribeless could have meant in the last 10 years. We have seen young people showing up for people they don't know. We have seen young people paying hospital bills for people they don't know, but as a sign of solidarity and belonging, and a sign of saying, I am because you are. We have shown Utu now as Tribeless more than any other time before. And for me, Tribeless is Utu, humanity.
So those goals of humanity that you have mentioned, how do you work to achieve them on the ground?
Interestingly, we have tribes of young people, and I say tribes because we identify as young people from different clusters. We have artists, we have activists, we have young professionals, we have young human rights defenders that come together to build together and to love their country together. So we have informal hubs across Nakuru County. We are now in Laikipia also, Kisumu. We are heading to Mombasa too, and we're in Kericho also as well. And the work we are doing here is bringing young people to the table to say, we do not want to be leftovers or to be given leftovers, or we do not want to be sides in the menu. We want to be part of the process. We want to be intentional about the progress and the policies that affect us directly. We want to be decision makers. We want to be part of the decision making table. And if you do not give us the space, we will also demand for the space and even create our own space at the center of it. So we have different groups of young people who are different. If it's artists, they identify the forms of art they want to use, and they do a lot of showcases around. We have human rights defenders who we see every day. I know certainly. We also now have human rights defenders from especially the deaf community. And we saw that happening, or for the first time in Nakuru, we saw over 200 deaf people in the streets demanding for their rights, demanding to stop seeing the oppression and everything. So when I look at that, I see faces and tribes of humanity from across, and I think that is well defining what Tribeless Youth does, or what it's been doing for the longest time.
Can you share a powerful success story or testimony that stands out from your work?
Initially, I would have said, oh, we've done so many things. But I want to reflect on the last 2 years, and especially after June 25th, 2024. I do believe the biggest success that Tribeless Youth can tell going forward is that Tribeless became the people. Tribeless became Utu. Tribeless became the people power. Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that has Tribeless Youth faced while trying to create that unity in deeply divided communities?
That's an interesting question, because I remember the first time we started this, everybody fought back. I think we're an interesting creature, or rather an interesting country, just to say, because then every time you said tribeless, what happened is that someone showed up to ask you who you are without your tribe. But we never really deeply interrogated who we are every day before elections, because the question of tribe comes out strongly near elections. We can see that right now. We can see how the old guards are struggling to divide people, people who don't care about tribes. So for me, I think the biggest challenge has always been the notion, the construct that tribe means you belong somewhere. Yet we're not looking at what does your tribe offer. I wish we looked at our tribes from the diversity of culture, the foods. We are very rich in our cultures and everything. But we allowed the political class to reduce tribe to the decision you make when it comes to elections. To your tribe matters. Your tribe is your safety. Every time you have to make the biggest decision of your life every 5 years. So I always tell people we allowed the political class to reduce tribe into idiocy that we celebrate every 5 years. So we have a whole 5 years of an idiots festival where we have to go and make one stupid decision that will affect your life for the next 5 years. So for me, that has always been the greatest challenge. And we see it even now when so many young people are working towards unshackling themselves from this given notion, then we still see the powers that be trying to propagate the same narrative, trying to fight everyone who does not want to identify a certain way, you know. So for me, I think it's been the construct that was there, and it's undoing a lot of lies that were told in the name of history, including who our freedom fighters are. So it's taken a lot of undoing and a lot of storytelling, a lot of learning and unlearning for us to get to a point where we can see a generation that says, you know what, tribe does not count when we're making these decisions. We have to make decisions for ourselves.
So how does Tribeless Youth engage young people in its mission of peace and unity?
We are fun-loving people. We love using art, we love using sports, we love using games. And so, like right now, we're in the process of working towards our annual festival. There was a festival that happens annually in Nakuru County, again, because we are supposed to be a hotspot, but this hotspot can be a hotspot of love and solidarity and unity, you know. So Wazi Festival is a space where young people come with different forms of art, games, but still have genuine conversations about their constitution. It happens in August 27th, specifically because it's intentional. It is to celebrate the constitution we have today, the Constitution 2010. It is to celebrate the birth of a new life for people. It's to celebrate the rights, and it's to celebrate the sovereignty of the people. So for me, those are some of the ways, and I love that we use fun, and I love that we work with young people, and I like that we work with these creatives to create a space for every young person.
So what role do you think, Shiko, young people should play in shaping Kenya's future, especially ahead of 2027 elections?
The first role is keep doing what you're doing, keep fighting for your space and for your rights. The second thing is to say, I am proud of every young person that has left everything behind to go out there and say, this is my country and I love it and I'll go out and defend it. The third thing is never to forget. We must never forget our people who were killed last year and who've continuously been killed since then. And fourth and lastly is never to forget that the moment we keep quiet, then we are seeing more and more political prisoners today, as young as 16 years, 15 years. Something that we thought the rebirth of our constitution protected us from. So we must not stop, and we must fight for that space, because it's really important for us. Because if we lose this country to the political class, we have nowhere else to go.
Have you observed any generational shifts in attitudes towards tribal politics in Kenya?
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. And I say this because initially when, especially the protest started, our parents were, no, don't go, don't do, all right? They witnessed a regime that did not care about their kids. They witnessed a regime that killed their kids. They have also witnessed a regime similar to the one they grew up with that has turned their kids into political prisoners. What does this tell you? Our parents are now also learning and they are waking up. That is why we are moving towards people saying we will also show up if our kids are coming out. That's why we are seeing parents say we might not be able to go with you, but our prayers are with you. So for me, I think the young people of this nation have managed to spin a narrative to undo something that has not been done for the last 60 years in this country, and is to start a genuine political conversation in their households.
How do you collaborate with local communities, religious leaders, or even government institutions?
With government is a bit tough, I won't lie. And I say because government is not friendly to people who are knowledgeable or to someone who looks like is equipping the community to understand. But I will say this, there are institutes or institutions of government that actually are welcoming to these spaces, and they're willing to listen and they're willing to work with you. So when we have room, then we engage in terms of policies and what policies could change certain situation, and how then the people can drive the conversations at the policy level. We work with our communities nearby by also engaging them in a lot of civic education. We do a lot of learning and unlearning. We make sure people understand their budget processes. We make sure they participate, and we make sure they know their priorities and how they can follow up on the same. We also make sure the people know how much comes to your local representatives. We also make sure they understand that bursaries and CDF money are not favors. And this is money, one, it's an illegal budget that needs to also be accounted for. So we make sure people understand where their money go, they follow their money, and they say their money because this is their taxes, and at the same time ask questions, but most importantly, make very informed decisions towards the ballot.
What impact has Tribeless Youth had so far in terms of numbers or reach?
Whoa, that's quite an interesting question. I see it both ways. We have a huge community online, and we also have a huge community offline. So far, I'd say being in all the 7 counties, we've been able to engage over 10,000 young Kenyans. And these are young Kenyans that we sit with, we have conversations with. They are still young Kenyans that we are still in touch with to date. Online, of course, has no borders, so we can't really point a finger, but at least I know for sure we have reached out to more than 500,000 young Kenyans.
Are there specific counties or communities where you have seen major breakthroughs?
Yes. I'll start with my county, Nakuru County. Nakuru County never even used to go out for protests. We are seeing young Kenyans show up. We are seeing young Kenyans say, enough is enough. Nakuru County never used to see young people participate in budget processes. Right now, they're the biggest champions in these spaces. We never used to see them educate their communities about their budgets. We have hub members that are doing that across ward levels and constituencies. So for me, Nakuru is one of it, but also Kericho. We've seen a different kind of solidarity in Kericho County. That when a young person is denied an identity card, the community will mobilize itself and go to the chief to make an inquiry why. And for me, this has changed how even governance works, because then it becomes a space where the leaders or the civil servants are kept accountable by the people who pay them, and that is the taxpayers.
As a female leader in civil society, what unique challenges have you faced, and how have you overcome them?
That's an interesting question, because civil society has for quite a while been male dominated, but moving swiftly it's changing. The dynamics have changed a lot, especially because of the two-third gender rule. Still the same. There are places where, and I say that because we come from Rift Valley and we understand this, the culture question also. There are spaces where you find that women are more reserved, and Nakuru is one of them, where women don't really show up as much in the front, and they'd rather have their voices consolidated and the chairman reads them out. It's been tough, one, because one, you're written off as yule mama mdomo. Second, people fear even engaging you because they think you're too loud. Third is that you're seen as a woman who cannot keep or nurture, because your space is not supposed to be in the front line, it's supposed to be somewhere incubating, you know. How have we handled this? I say a day at a time. There's nothing too easy or too hard, but the question of consistency, the question of making sure your voice is heard, because there are moments people try to silence you, but how do you still maintain your voice with your head held high? I think it's understanding who you are, grounding yourself on what you believe in, and understanding why you're in that gap and in that space.
So how does Tribeless Youth ensure women and marginalized groups are included in peace-building conversations?
I think for us, one is to be very intentional about achieving the two-third gender rule, or bridging that gap, so to say. So we try very much to be very intentional, even with the way we mobilize our participants. We try very much to make sure that we understand the contribution each person makes. So we do not mobilize to tick boxes. We will not sit down and say, oh, we do not have a person with disability, let's call so and so. No, we intentionally mobilize you with what you bring to the table. And that is in terms of ideas, that is in terms of the community you serve, it's in terms of even the need for you to get the information. So for us, we've been very intentional on how we engage. We have programs or projects that specifically target the marginalized groups, and this includes the persons with disability. We've been very vocal following up on Baby Mercy's case, who is a child to the deaf couple that disappeared mysteriously at Nakuru level 5. So just looking at being able to equip these people in ways that they can be able to go to courts, they can read and understand, they can have interpreters in the room, I think for me has been one of the ways that I can say we're intentional about including and having these people be part of the process.
What's one lesson you have learned as a leader that you wish more Kenyans understood?
That mindset change takes time, that it takes patience, but we must not give up. I wish we understood that changing this country is not going to happen in a snap, but it's going to happen because we keep at it and we are consistent. I hope we do not give up. I hope we stick to it and understand that the plants we are planting today will be one day certain, because we are doing something good for the generation and the history of this nation.
Where do you see Tribeless Youth in the next 5-10 years to come?
This is interesting because we are 9 years now, so we'll be 10 years next year. And the one big question we've been asking ourselves is 10 years down the line, there's a huge difference between when we started and when we said tribeless and people looked at us weirdly and it did not make sense. 10 years later, tribeless has become an identity that every Kenyan, if not all, can at least resonate with, can at least sit down and have a conversation about being tribeless. It's interesting that every young person right now is a Gen Z, quote unquote, as we pass. It's also interesting that every time someone wants to address you, will address you as Nini Watu Tribeless. It has changed in 10 years. I'm looking at the next 10 as the space of tribeless becoming. And I say becoming because we've journeyed, and now it's time for the realization. It's time for actualization. It's time where tribeless becomes the voting card. It's time where your tribe will not matter when you're going to cast that ballot. It's time where you will not fear your name betraying you because you belong to a certain tribe or you voted in a certain region. I see a space where injustices will not be meted on you because of the tribe you come from. So for me, I think tribeless will be in a space of becoming.
What message do you have for Kenyans ahead of the next general election?
That it's enough with voting for the sake of just it, that vote you cast, it determines a lot. And your vote today determines 5 years of your life. Your vote today determines the ripple effect that might run 20 years from now. That your vote today determines whether you eat, whether you have shelter, or whether you can afford health services or education. So as you take time to even discuss the various interesting candidates we're seeing, understand that this is the first time we have alternatives. Please do not think that alternatives will not need you. They need us for us to get proper leadership. And I say alternatives because it's the first time we are not saying, oh, you only have the bigger and lesser evil. Because that has always been the case. So we vote the lesser evil to avoid the bigger evil, which I've never understood the measure. But now we have people who are straight, who we can sit down and look at their portfolio and say, these are people who've done A, B, C, D. These are people who are headed in this direction. And these are people who can get us to this direction. So as you vote, take time. Understand that you're voting your future and understand that you're going to finance the lifestyle of this person for the next 5 years. So ask yourself as an employer, is this person worth your vote? Is this person worth your taxes? Is this person worth everything you work for?
What's one book or quote or song that keep you going, Shiko?
Oh, this is interesting. I'll say a quote that keeps me going, or rather a story that keeps me going. Let me just say the story is the story of the hummingbird, as told by our matriarch, Wangari Maathai. The small bits that we're building, one day will count as shelter for all of us. And I see the efforts that young Kenyans are making today as the stories of the hummingbird. Because we have some that are bailing people out, we have some that are doing blood drives, we have some that are in hospitals getting bills paid, we have some that are doing civic education for free. I'm seeing all these things and I'm like, this is building the Utu nation we're looking forward to. The story of the hummingbird it is.
If you aren't running Tribeless Youth, what would you be doing today?
Ooh, that's quite an interesting one. I'm huge on data and marketing. I love numbers, so maybe I'd be in the marketing field, I'm not sure. But knowing where my heart is and my passion, I'd be more probably into political conversations more. And I think this just touches on the conversation we've had on lectures and education. But I tell people I will not be a youth in the next few years. And my bigger retirement plan, which this is probably something that I would be doing if I wasn't doing Tribeless Youth, is to have a space that archives history for our kids. A space where we teach our kids politics, a space where we teach our kids to understand themselves and know themselves, and also a space that allows them to become political aware and more aware of themselves as political beings.
Finally, Shiko, what's the boldest thing you have ever done for peace?
For peace? Ooh. My life has been more about courage, and I think generally everybody describes me as bold, but I say it is standing up when everyone else was trying to look away. It is putting yourself and your life on the line when everybody else is trying to act like they can't see it. So for me, the boldest moment was, I don't want to give the specific instance, but when everybody looked away when someone was being harassed in a matatu. And when I spoke, I was reduced to, oh, you need to be raped so that you keep your mouth shut. Or you need to be defiled so that this happened. I think for me that changed how I see so many things.